Hello, everybody. This is Justin Case of American Newscape, joining our friend and media personality, Jerry Runny Nose Maldonado, back for another installment of American Mentoring. Hello, Jerry. Welcome
You're
back
beat me to it. I was going to say the same thing. Touche, man. Touche.
Hey, Jerry, we all relate, and there's no shame in a runny nose. And thank you for overcoming it.
You got the opening call tonight. You got the opening call.
I get
the star in the refrigerator tonight.
I get the meatball award. First meatball.
Yes, you do indeed.
Okay.
All right.
Jerry, tonight, storylines. What's happening with storylines?
Yes. Yeah, man. I had a great conversation, believe it or not, with the ex this week, and I wanted to bring it up and share with you guys. First off, thank you guys for the Jackson views with this show. I am grateful. We had a great conversation, and she mentioned some words that were very poignant, and I like keeping any past that I have on a good note, and hopefully everybody can do that as well. You never want to leave something unsaid because it just builds up and bubbles up. But she mentioned, I won't let the past define me. And I immediately text her back. I said, it's not your past that defines you, it's you that defines you. And people have this story, and we all do. And we all have this story that we carry around every day. Either we note it with our speech or our verbiage or whatever we're doing about where we've been. And the more you talk about where you've been, the more you attract where you're going to go because you keep living in that.
Well, say that again. Help me. So the more I talk about where I've been, the more I will attract where I'm going to go?
Yes, and you bring up a great point by repeating that, because what you live in feeling and thought every day, and this is a big rule that I had to learn because I had to get to the point, and this was the idea for me, myself, and I Can't, the book that I wrote. It was a story that I wanted to tell myself of where I wanted to go because I kept telling myself where I was. If you keep telling yourself every day in your thought, in your word, your feeling, your action, whatever you're doing in life, hence failure, loss, you're not good enough, you keep living in that vibration of the past, hence the law of attraction via like attracts like, you can only attract more of that. So the story that you live in is a story that you create from, hence your past. We all have one. We all have one, but it doesn't mean we have to live by it. And it's something that I connote every day in every word that I dictate in my journal about what I want to have, be, and do, because to create a future, you have to start living in it before you start creating it. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't understand the concept of does that make sense, but could possibly my storylines, and I said lines, I've got good, bad, ugly storylines. Can I assume I can be out with the negative, in with the positive, whatever part of my storyline I can build on going forward, right?
Well, yeah, you bring up a great point with that. I love that. The past doesn't have to be a bad thing. You can use wisdom like you and I do, and I still practice this every day as knowledge. Success leaves clues, failures leave clues as well. And I'm always delving into where I've been. And our conversation with my ex and I was a testament to that. It showed what we could have been and where we are now, the big difference from there and now. And we learned from what had happened to move us forward and what we can make happen with our lives. And if people, instead of living in where they've been, realize it, understand it, try to learn from it, and you'll get out of the state of living in it, the state of mind, the conscious mind of what has happened to you. And people always ask me, what happened? How did you end up living in the 12 by 12? Hence that motel I lived in for a decade as I paid off my child support and got my life back in order. I said I kept living in the 12 by 12 before I even got there. The thought of failure, the thought of a bad father, of this and divorce and all these things and that only brought me to the pinnacle of my thoughts. If people can realize that, and I was the hardest working guy out there. I was working 3 jobs. I was trying to make ends meet, trying to support 2 families, hence with this dilemma that was going on. But I kept falling deeper and deeper because I kept thinking lower and lower.
Right, right. And and I think people need to respect the fact that some things that you feel you should consider a tragedy may not be.
No.
A divorce may not be a tragedy. It may be both parties needed to move on.
Yes. Oh, yes. And not in necessarily a mental sense of moving on, but a physical sense as well. And I posted this many times, even on my YouTube channel, of where I was, how I looked 10 years ago to now. And it's the physicality changes completely when your mentality changes completely. It's absolutely amazing. But until you stop living in where you've been, in a sense where it hurts, you can live back there as much as you want if you're learning from it, like I do every day. Indeed, I want to learn not to hit the wall again. I mean, indeed, you want to learn stuff like that. But it's how you think of yourself, which is most important. How you determine where you want to go in life. You can only be successful outside when you start being successful inside. And I was doing it all backwards.
Well, absolutely. And it is all about how you look at yourself, and you need to aspire to look at yourself in a positive manner. You know,
Oh, constantly. Yes, constantly, constantly. Yeah, and you got to reaffirm that, affirm that, determine where you want to go. Um, you and I have made plenty of mistakes throughout the past, but we look back on it constantly to try to understand what happened and then move forward with it. And the majority don't do that. I get it. It's traumatic. It's painful indeed. But the minute you can learn why things happen is when you start making notice where you can go. You can make things happen.
well, you can. And, I was gifted with learning to laugh at my mistakes when I was younger. I still laugh at them, and some of them are
Yeah.
quite comical. And the other thing, in talking
Yes.
talking to friends of my business people of my generation, we talk about things are a little bit more difficult than they used to be for us when we were 30 years old.
Mm.
And it's something we
Oh, yeah.
learned to cope with. We like this fact that we have the opportunity to do this, and we're
You, you,
grateful that we've gotten to the point we are. But there's
yeah.
no, if you don't remember where your car keys are, don't bemoan it. Just go find your car keys.
Well, again, Mr. Trigger, you brought up a great word, experience.
Right.
When you start understanding why things are happening in your life, and this is why I like getting older, man. You really start to understand why things are happening, and people who are younger don't really have the patience for that now. I don't know why. Well, actually, no, I do know why, because I did that. Yeah, I was the same way. But then you start to realize that the mistakes emotionally that you're making on a thinking level and a feeling level that you're creating on an outer level. And when you start grasping, it's not grasping at straws. It's understanding your soul, and it's working with your core beliefs that have been installed preamble to what's going on, where you want to go in life. And thinking successful will bring you success in whatever you do if you constantly do it. But how you feel about yourself, most importantly, not about your past, not about your future, but right now. And you hold that in a constant state, that's what you're going to manifest.
Right. Right. Well, you're right, Jerry. I mean, it's and I know we can sound like broken records. The laws of
Mhm.
attractions. You reap what you
Yes.
sow.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to that, and an environment.
Yeah.
Environment is an important aspect of people being content, people being happy, and I'm not just saying you don't need to live on a mansion on a hill, but you need to be in primarily a positive environment.
Yeah. Indeed. You can't get the mansion on the outside, so you have it on the inside. And a lot of people, we were taught, you and I can guarantee the echelon up in our age, we were taught hard work, going to make it, make it, make it. But if you think you're a putz, you're not going to make it meatball. You're going to keep hitting a wall. You're going to constantly keep hitting a wall. You're going to be the hardest working man out there and still be a putz. It's just going to happen over and over again. You're not going to know why. But
Well,
until you start, when you start understanding yourself, is when you can start becoming yourself to attract to yourself what you want for yourself.
I break it out a little differently. When I played golf, I was a putz.
How's the thing? Mr. Putz. You know what I mean? But yeah, you bring up a great point. You brought up a great point about laughing at your mistakes. Indeed, we all, as you get older and understand yourself. And I look at some of the first videos I made on YouTube. Like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But I left them there as a reminder of where I've been. I could have expunged them out. Nope, I said I'm going to leave it. I'm like, but this is what you have to get past. We've been conditioned to do so many things that we don't want to do. Go ahead.
Well, it's like our audience. They come to listen to us laugh. We laugh at ourselves, at each other, and we can chuckle about putting some of these theories out there. It's not that we necessarily find them funny, but we enjoy sharing them.
Oh yeah. I mean, actually, this is actually quite fun, believe it or not. Conscious thinking is actually fun when you get a hold of it. And I work on this every day. I'm not an expert at this, nor do I play one on TV. I just want to be what I want to be and share the information that I've learned out there to help people be what they want to be. And all you have to do, if you start with the source of yourself and your feelings, not where you've been, not where you want to go, but where you are right now, and you understand what you're thinking and feeling right now, you'll get a grip on, you'll understand, most importantly, where you're going, because you can only manifest from the feelings and the thoughts and how you're acting out from being that.
Well, we go back to, we talk about children being children, and, cartoons played a role in my life. I mean, Popeye said he yam what he yam. And, that made a lot of sense to me. It made a lot of sense to me when I was a child. And
that was a hidden scripture message on that one, huh?
Well, it was. And despite I enjoyed the cartoon Mighty Mouse, I had to become an adult to realize it was an opera from beginning to end.
Basically, I still have the blanket, man. I put around my neck when I used to run around the house, man.
As Mighty Mouse.
I was Mighty Mouse, Superman, Guido. I didn't care. I just wanted to run around the house with a cape on. If people got that mindset, I mean, you'd be surprised. But society has shunned that. Why? I don't know. The imagination is creation. It's everything, but we're not taught that. We're taught to follow the lead, to conform, and just be that out there instead of being yourself. And you wonder why people are a mess nowadays. But hopefully shows like this, just basic information about science, that is a proven fact now. It's not even theory anymore. It's actually a proven fact. You don't hear about it. You got to dig deep for it. And when you realize, wow, I've been duped, man. I've been duped on how to live every day. And you realize we all have a gift. We all have something to give. And when you start being that gift, when you start presenting that gift, and life starts presenting it back to you.
Right. Well, what kind of student were you, Jerry?
Terrible. I was just terrible.
Why? Why were you terrible?
Because ignorance was bliss back then. Because I wanted to work. You bring up a great topic here. I just wanted to work. I had to help my family back then. And school to me was nothing. And here I am later on, a high school dropout that have written a book and does this. You're not denied nothing. But the point is, back then, this is what I mean. Transformation is great. Because who I was back then is completely different who I am now. What happened? I thought about it. I said, wait, things aren't working out right. Let's not go in the same direction, hitting the same wall, doing the same things. And when you realize that, you realize how you were raised one way, you can change that. Is it arduous? Yeah, it can be. But if you're dedicated and you push that forward every day, you're going to slowly and surely manifest into that whatever you want to be. And right. School, to me, education, it didn't feel right to me my way. And when I did it my way, how I adapted to learning about it, that's when everything started to, I started to become a sponge. And people have their own way of learning.
Yes, yes.
And if it takes you 10 years to learn certain things, then do it, because the rewards are amazing.
Well, they are, and you and I are testament to we're learning every day.
Yeah.
When I was a student, I was, let's just say, rage against the storm, just because the teacher told me I didn't bite the hook. It wasn't hook, line, and sinker. I wanted them to prove to me why. And
Hmm.
that served me well when I became an adult. I'm sure I drove a lot of teachers crazy.
Yeah.
May they rest in peace.
Well, you bring up a great point. It's other people's opinions. I mean, they don't know you. And this is the problem with a lot of educators. I mean, they give a determination of the facade of a person before even knowing the person. I get they're busy. I know they got 100 students. I get it. But remarks like that stick with us. We never forget them. And especially at a young age. I mean, my kids have been told the same thing. And right now they're in their 20s, conquering the world the best they can. But they still remember the powerful words that brought them down by a so-called adult who understood how to teach students. And it's really imperative. That's the story that you start telling yourself. This is exactly what we're talking about. What you were told before, you start living by. And those earlier experiences of school and relationships and all these things in life, you start living by that because you start actually believing that you are that when you weren't.
Well, I didn't believe in the monkey song.
Yeah, that's sort of you.
I
You
was
wrecked the moment.
I
There
I
goes the
was
Kodak moment out the window.
no, I was protected by my pig-headedness.
Yes. Well, testosterone as well.
Well,
And
yeah,
you were an athlete. Yeah, you were not. You were a pep rallier.
yeah, yeah, but
Yeah. So you.
we talk about my athletic uh, time, but I was so difficult to coach. I was a better coach than I was an athlete because I resisted.
Yeah.
I resisted.
Well, we're all hypocrites sometimes.
Yeah, and
We
Jerry,
we all got to learn.
the reason I was such a good coach is because so many adults saw my potential and tried to coach me, even though I wouldn't listen to them. But when I became a coach, I utilized what they told me when I was a child.
As a kid, yeah, ignorance is bliss. When we're kids, I mean, people see something. This you bring up a great point. That there are good people that see some really good points. We just don't want to listen.
Right.
I get it. I get it. I was a lefty. I was a southpaw pitcher. I had a gift. I had like an 80-mile-an-hour fastball at like 14, but
Wow.
I couldn't figure out how to throw it straight, and I wouldn't listen to him, so I ended up dropping out when I could have did probably really good for myself. So I get it.
Well,
I get it. So yeah, that's why they call it life experiences. It's
and
not meant to be. It's you create the meant to be by who you are right now to be.
well, it's kind of like when we watch Kung Fu. It came out when I was a child, and
Hmm.
grabbed the pebble from my hand. Little Justin said, "Why? There's pebbles all over the place."
You're lucky. I tried to break 2x4s, so don't feel bad, man. I wonder
Oh,
why I kept breaking a finger. I thought I was kung fu fighting over here.
oh
And so
wow.
it's yeah, you learn. You learn 2x4s are very. Then I switched to pine. It broke easier, and I felt better. I got the ego out of the way. But yeah, you gotta learn that way. We all gotta learn that way. I mean,
Well,
but if you should keep carrying those experiences on a negative level. It's a great point as well. You can only remanifest this stuff.
and for people that don't understand karate, and for any of your karate experts that want to weigh in, most of those boards are heated in a kiln, so they're pretty damn brittle when they go breaking
Oh,
them during demonstrations.
yeah, but not the ones I was breaking, man. We had the old
Well,
hardware stores back then, and they sit outside for like a year, so they were stiff and they were petrified.
petrified.
Then I realized that my hand was double the size; it wasn't going to work anymore. But yeah, you're a kid; you got to explore things, and I get it, I get it, I get it. But
All right.
it was all good. It was a great experience, man.
Hey Jerry, I've taken us so far off topic. Let's get back to why don't you let's get back to storylines. Why don't you give us some tools of how
Yep.
to utilize our storylines, enhance our storylines, get away from the bad parts, aspects of our storyline, so we can start attracting into our lives what we want.
Well, to get away from the bad parts, as what you noted on there, which is a great point, you got to create good ones. And journaling for me, myself, and I can was the starting point of that. I didn't even know I didn't know why I was writing it, but I knew I wanted to include 365 blank pages. They represent one day of your life. And the minute you start journaling how that life, what you want to construct that life, and you keep doing it every single day, you start alleviating the bad as an experience and start presenting yourself as a future. Does that make sense?
What?
I'm totally messing with you.
I know.
Keep
Everybody, Jerry
doing,
does that just to irritate me. He goes, "Does that make sense?
I know.
Justin, do you
If
understand
you
what I'm
keep
talking
doing,
about?"
if you,
Write
if you
that in your
keep doing
journal.
what you're doing, if you
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting.
Right.
And the point of journaling with me is I kept doing what I was doing. Therefore, I kept manifesting and getting what I kept getting. And to get rid of the bad, you've got to install the good. And if you keep doing that every day, you can start attaching things like goals and determinations and new life areas you want to go into. But it's got to be consistent, because how we were programmed was consistent. How to deprogram is got to be consistent as well. And
Well,
if you keep doing this every day, it's gonna start. It's gonna start. You can't lose at this game.
well, I would assume, not being a journaler, your journaling will evolve. Once you start to journal,
Yeah.
you will actually develop patterns and you'll start to see things that actually
Yeah.
help you.
Yes. And journaling. It's only for me, mind you. It's my way.
Right.
As we were talking about, edifying yourself. You have your way. They
Right.
have their way. Whatever way is, if you do it consistently, you will gain. You will not lose, because we were already programmed consistently one way, like I said. And you can reprogram if you consistently install the new program you want to run.
Right.
It's a
Well,
really simple but arduous process, though.
yeah, I just encourage people, if you've tried it, get back to it and stick with it a little bit. And, even if you have to write down a few notes from what you hear from us weekly,
Yeah.
if
Well,
in case we say anything worthwhile.
they had this back in the Victorian times. They called it a diary. I mean, and people journaled. I mean, all the great successful inventor. I mean, these guys just wrote down their ideas and thoughts on paper, and they gradually manifested into their reality. I'm not saying what you're going to write is going to happen. All I'm saying is whatever you want to be, however you set it up every day in thought, feeling, action, whatever that is, you're going to manifest it if you keep doing it. But you got to keep doing it. You can't do it for a day, a month, a week. I mean, I literally had to recondition myself for years because I didn't like where I was and how I got there. And some people get it and they don't want to go through the process, and that's their choice.
Right.
I'm just showing how I did it, and you pick your poison on what you want to do in life, and people will have an amazing time if they just keep at it.
Well, as my favorite president once said, Harry Truman, the buck stops here.
Yes, yes. And I noted that when I uploaded that too as well. And I was like, why did Harry Truman say that? Because he had to nuke a bunch of people. He goes, look, it's my call, it's my choice, and I want to end this, and I want world peace. And I get that. And it was an amazing story behind that plaque on that desk. And if the buck stops on people's desks, they'll understand where they're going.
Yeah, and Harry Truman said a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Jerry, I think let's end on Harry Truman. This has been Justin Case and Jerry Maldonado, bringing you American Mentoring. Thanks for joining us. Remember, additional information and links are provided in this video's read more. Today's the day to subscribe to this channel. Hey, work on your storylines, and please learn more about Jerry Maldonado.